The point of practical alchemy is to confect alchemical substances, elixirs and stones, psychospiritual substances that do something on evolutionary levels. When elixir is ingested as sacrament, personal consciousness is opened, elevated, and shifted to facilitate an integrated transcendental awareness that allows one to expand perception far beyond what is considered to be consensus reality. These shifts are also possible to experience without elixir through practices of initiatory theurgy, which can be approached as an interior application of alchemical process applied to the psyche of an aspirant, in a way that completely complements and mirrors effective practical laboratory alchemy processes. Some of what I disclose here is a radical departure from many long-held ideas about alchemy, based upon my personal understanding and approach to practicing and teaching a system of theurgy that aligns completely with an alchemical paradigm that is as liberating as it is illuminating. The underlying mechanics of theurgy and alchemy are the core of all genuine spiritual understanding, fragmented pieces of which are stored allegorically in many religious traditions. This underlying truth is often referred to as the perennial tradition. As with the underlying perennial truth concealed as allegory within religions, there is also an underlying perennial truth concealed as allegory within adept alchemy traditions. To facilitate the rest of what I am committing to print, I have created the diagram here as a process map to help aspirants have a more thorough picture than is usually available. I have long stated that having a full working template for understanding the link between initiatory theurgy and alchemy as a kind of spiritual double entry accounting is absolutely necessary. This is my template, distilled from more than 35 years exploring the illuminatory arts, and it is the first time I have published it. It is the master process map for non-dual theurgy and alchemy. It is the process that underlies the functional level of continuous creation, as well as the mechanics of psychospiritual evolution within both the psyche and practical laboratory alchemy. With proper understanding of theurgy and alchemy, they mirror each other perfectly to reveal one underlying path. That underlying path, to me, is the one path. Anything else that is usually referred to as a path is simply a method. This is true for theurgy and alchemy because it is determined by nature, but understanding this position will require clarification. Before I frame out my positions on practical alchemy as a vital part of the illuminatory arts, there is one overarching thing to explain about substances and alchemical theory. It is the thing that gets said without really ever being said. Practical alchemy work has always acknowledged that the substances used were physical substances, which also have a non-physical level. And it is this non-physical level that is often considered to be the philosophical elements that are being manipulated in laboratory alchemy. We are led to believe, whether disingenuous or not, that the philosophical elements are derived from aspects of particular physical substances, and we just need to know how to properly obtain them. This is a blind, again, whether intentional or just blindly repeated, that conceals the true Prima Materia. It is true that all base physical substances have a non-physical level that is considered to be the mercury of the substance, the information level, called a data packet in quantum mechanics, that holds the blueprint, morphogenic pattern, for the configuration of the substance, whether a single atom or a complex structure. But that non-physical level of the substance is not the one alchemists work with. There is an alchemy under the alchemy. For a substance to be useful in alchemy, there are two non-physical levels, the one we already discussed, and then another one that uses the base, the physical unit with its non-physical unit, as a vessel. Before we get to what is it exactly that this second non-physical thing is that is a substance as a vessel in alchemy, we need to discuss quintessence and what it means. Quint in Latin means 5, so a quintessence is the 5th essence. It is the sum of the 4 classical philosophical elements, earth, air, fire, water, when combined into one complete thing. Or it is the root source of the essence that evolves to generate each philosophical element itself. In other words, there is a top-down alchemy and a bottom-up alchemy. Understanding the alchemy under the alchemy allows one to work effectively from either direction, or a combination of both, as a consideration of practicality. From this vantage point, for me, the true one path in alchemy is the top-down alchemy, and all other purported paths simply become methods. Without the alchemy under the alchemy, the methods of purported paths as they are often approached do not always work. But top-down alchemy, generative alchemy, always works. So, what is it? This generative, non-physical essence that can become the 4 philosophical elements and which can be confected by art into quintessence as a higher octave of itself. It is what I call generative starlight. I use the term generative because it is a kind of seed, not just light. It is a specific substance that comes through the stellar light that is an essence but has no detectable physical form of its own. It is the non-physical particulate nature of the spiritus mundi, the spirit of the world. That is the starting material of any truly alchemical substance. The Prima Materia is an isolated spark of quantum-level generative starlight from the spiritus mundi. This generative starlight, the Prima Materia, cannot yet be detected directly by any known scientific equipment. It is also not visible to most people, so it often goes unseen, though I have seen it etherically since I was a small child. I see it in the air all the time, but it is most concentrated and highly noticeable to me in sunbeams or strong sunlight in general. As a child, I stopped asking what it was because no one saw it and therefore had no idea what I was talking about. So eventually I just kept it to myself. Until a somewhat embarrassing episode in 10th grade chemistry class where I floated that question again to the teacher as sunbeams were coming through the window, only to be met with the same general non-answers. In intense sunlight, it appears as tiny brilliant balls of golden white light that are very active and all squiggling about in the air, which makes them appear like little golden tadpoles because they look like little sparks of light with tails. Because they don't stop squiggling, so they create a continuous comet-like trail of light. They look just like little light tadpoles, or sperm cells, and the Hebrew letter Yod, and they have been depicted in that exact way in numerous Egyptian hieroglyphic instances, as you can see from this image, where they are depicted as hands passing ankhs. In Egyptian texts, it seems to have been referred to as what is it, transliterated essentially as mufkuts, which apparently defies modern understanding because its etymology is thought by some, Lawrence Gardner in particular, to possibly relate to both gold and stone, which of course, outside the paradigm of alchemy, makes no sense to most people. It is curious to note that there may be an underlying connection between mufkuts and the Hebrew word manna, because the root of that word also means, what is it? Since this generative starlight can only be collected within other physical substances, it makes sense that the ancients could have named it what is it, because they could only know it by its effects. That pure divinity could not be directly known, but only known by its effects, was certainly an aphorism of ancient philosophy. This may be a concretized example of a more profound understanding than modern academics had any reasonable way, without direct experience, to conclude. Furthermore, it seems to me, though I do not know if there's any documentation to verify my inkling, that the idea perpetuated by alchemical adepts that the Prima Materia had never been named could very much have to do with having been called "what is it" when referring directly to it. It feels like adept wordplay to me.